Just waiting. Couple more minutes. Still a few minutes early. We'll wait a few more minutes and just to give it some chances so people can log in, and we will begin. So, I'll wait 2 more minutes, 1:05 p.m., and I'll start the intro and go from there. Just waiting for a few more people. Cool. What happened? Oh. I'm gonna start in just a sec. Um, if there's anyone here watching, I haven't started yet. Just giving a couple more minutes so people can show up. Really appreciate it. So if you are here, if you can just say something on the chat, um, like a thumbs up, hey, like or something, so I know you're here. Or just say I'm here, and all right, that would be great. Okay, so um, so welcome to today's live stream. I really appreciate you tuning in, and whether you're watching live or perhaps you're gonna watch this at a later time. So we've got some powerful topics to dive into, and I want to hear from you. Your thought and conversation is important to me, so I know where you stand and what you believe, because we all have different beliefs, and you know, so yeah, I'm interested to know your opinions, and feel free at any time to make a comment, and I will do my best to read your comment, or if you want to make any statement, I'll read it out, or if you want to, even if you want to just comment but you don't want your comment for me to read it out, I perfectly will do that as well. Um, so, okay, so so I'll be talking about five of the most debated issues in our society right now, and some of these are just an overall topics, and I want you to make your statement, make your belief, what you think. Um, so it's mostly just to engage, so we can have a conversation, discuss what you think. It's not going to be a full storyline or full article. It's more an overall what's going on, and I want to hear your thoughts, what you believe, what you think. So, for example, uh, these are like five of the topics that I'm going to be covering. It could be lengthy. So one of them is LGBTQ right plus and critics over equality. So that's one topic I'll be I'll be talking about. Tariffs and how they affect our economy and everyday life. Also, some touch base on Donald Trump, the controversy, the criticism, and the impact. And also, one other topic that um, I didn't put on the top five, which I added on later on, is abortion. So a few things too that I'm going to throw it out there, and I want you to comment your opinion, your thoughts, and all of these topics. And the other one is immigration and due process at the border. And finally, I'll be using some analogies to help us think about these issues in a more relatable way. So this isn't just me talking. This is a space for open conversation. I encourage everyone to jump into the comments, drop your questions, and share your ideas, your opinions, and even your disagreements. Whether you agree or not, I want to hear your voice. I will be reading through the comments and doing my best to respond to as many as I can, as I stated before. So I believe every single person is entitled to their opinion and their beliefs. And just like I respect yours, as I ask that you respect mine and others in return. So let's have a real, honest, and respectful conversation. And let's jump right into it. So, as I have said, the first one I'm going to be talking about is the LGBTQ plus. Okay, so what's happening in the LGBTQ? So some state issues. There are a lot of voices right now claiming that LGBTQ people, especially trans individuals, are under attack. Let's break down what's really going on and explore why people feel this way. What do you think our LGBTQ plus rights are being attacked? Or is it just media noise? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. So that's one thing I want to hear from you, your thoughts. Are LGBTQ plus being attacked, and how? Just give me an example. So how are LGBTQ plus people being attacked? Laws, is it laws restricting gender affirming care or for minors in many U.S. states? Bathroom bans. Trans people face restrictions on using facilities mentioning their gender identity. How about sports bans? Trans women and girls are often excluded from competing in women's categories. Rights of teachers and healthcare workers to refuse care or use pronouns that align with someone's gender identity. And social and cultural attacks. Increase in hate crimes, especially targeting trans women of color. Media portrayal of LGBTQ plus people as threat to children or society. Example in grooming accusations. And also public figures using harmful rhetoric that spreads fear and division. So, do you feel like these laws or attacks are justified? Or are they just creating fear and division? So, right to healthcare, restrictions on gender affirming care, and even simple access to mental health services. Right to privacy. Many are fighting to keep personal information private about their gender identity or sexual orientation. And protection from discrimination. Some states are rolling back protections against discrimination in housing, jobs, or schools. Freedom to express identity. Transgender people are finding themselves restricted in what they can hear or how they present themselves in certain spaces. What rights, here's a question for you. What rights do you think are most at risk right now? What would you do to protect them? Um, so, what do trans people want? Equality in healthcare? Trans people want to access to gender affirming care without legal restrictions. Legal recognition, the right to be recognized by their correct name and gender in all legal and public contexts. Freedom for violence and harassment. Safety in schools, workplaces, and public spaces. Protection against discrimination. Equal protection in housing, jobs, and education without fear of being fired or denied services because of their identity. Do you think it's fair for trans people to ask for these basic rights? Why? Or why not? Um, so, if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, or you have trans friends that are seeing or feeling, how does this affect you? For those of you who disagree, let's talk respectfully. What concerns you about these rights being expanded? Whether you're an ally, a member of the community, or just have questions, let's have an open conversation about this. So, give your thoughts on the LGBTQ plus, on whatever it's in your mind. All right, so we are going to move on to the next topic. Just gonna wait for a second. Give me 1 second. I'll just try to get more people here. Okay, let's move on to tariffs. When it comes to tariffs, the big questions is whether they will help American people by improving the economy and making life more affordable, or if they will lead to a higher cost of living. Will tariffs help the American people? Can tariffs protect the US industry? What are some effect benefits in the short term? Tariff can make foreign products more expensive. And on the long run, can tariffs lower the cost of living? Will tariffs lead to a better economy or higher cost of living? What are some pros and cons? So, leave your comments. What do you think the good and the bad of tariffs? How is the economy now compared to 2 to 3 years ago? Is it more expensive now, or the same, or is it cheaper compared to 3 years ago? And I'm sure you heard the U.S. and the UK just made a trade deal, and these are in the steel and aluminum industry. The U.S. has eliminated its 25% tariff on British steel and aluminum exports, providing relief to the UK steel industry. On the automobiles, traffic's on up to 100,000 British cars exported to the US have been reduced from 25.5% to 10%, benefiting UK automakers like Jaguar and Land Rover. And also in the agriculture trade, such as beef, the UK has removed its 20% tariff on US beef and established a duty-free quota of 13,000 metric tons, facilitating greater US beef exports. Ethanol. The UK has lifted tariffs on US ethanol, opening up to new market opportunities for American producers. Will other countries follow the negotiation or the trade deals on tariffs? Comment below. Comment below on what you think, your opinion, and I would love to hear. And now we are going to the next topic. So, okay. So let's go with abortion. This is an interesting topic. Very interesting topic. I want to hear your thoughts on this. If someone is pregnant, should you have the right to get an abortion at any age stage of her pregnancy, whether it's in the early weeks or the late months? Do you believe in full reproductive freedom, or should there be limits? And if there are limits, when and why? So, as we know, there are 3 stages of pregnancy, which are called the trimesters. So, the first trimester, week 1 to 12, it's the embryo fetus is in the early development. Most abortions, about 90%, occur during this stage. Many states allow abortion in this window. Often the stage where people argue it's most clearly in a woman's choice. So here's the question. Should abortion be unrestricted in the first trimester? Let me know. Let me know. Okay. Okay. So in the second trimester, which is weeks between 13 weeks and 26 weeks, so the fetus becomes more developed. Organs, movement, heartbeat. Some states allow abortion with restrictions, such as for health reasons. Debate increases. Is this when viability starts to matter? Should abortion be allowed in the second trimester? And if so, under what circumstances? In the third trimester, between the weeks 27 weeks and 40 weeks, the fetus is nearing or has reached viability and can survive outside the womb. Abortion here is very rare and usually due to serious medical issues. Legally restricted in most states unless mother's life is at risk. So again, what's your thoughts? Should abortion be legal in the third trimester or only for medical reasons or never? Abortion and trimester laws, where do they stand? Should women have the right to choose at every stage or only some? Drop your thoughts below. Let's keep it respectfully and real. Okay. So, just a few other things. The legal and ethical questions are: okay, I'll read this now. So, here's some legal and ethical questions. So the police investigate. James is a cooperative, remorseful, and sober. He was briefly inattentive but not intoxicated or reckless speeding. So Sarah is devastated by the loss but does not want James punished. She knows it was an accident. However, the local prosecutor is considering processing charges under the state's federal homicide statute, which defines a viable fetus as a person under certain conditions. So now here are some questions to think about. Should James be charged with homicide for the loss of the fetus? Does it matter that there was no intent to harm? Should the law treat an accidental fetal death the same way it might treat abortion? What does this say about how we define personhood and legal rights to the unborn? How does the mother's consent or lack of it change the ethical meaning of the outcome? So again, I want to hear your thoughts, what you think, and we go from there. Okay. All right. Alrighty then. 1 second again. Just trying to get some more people too. Okay, good, good, good. Good. Good, good, good. One second. Be right there. All right, let me go to the next topic. Just trying to get some more people to come by and have a chat with us. So talk about abortion. All right, let's go next. Next is we're going to talk about Trump. Yes, Trump. Okay. All right, so I want to open the floor with an honest, unfiltered discussion. Many critics throw out serious accusation against Donald Trump, calling him a dictator, a racist, even a rapist. But I'm not here to just accept those labels. I want to ask you, do these claims have a real substance, or are they just emotional reactions and political bias? I want to pause here for another second. Uh, okay, back. Um, so do these claims have, okay, so, so the authoritarian and fascist, does it make a dangerous dictator? So, and the amid economic instability and declining approval ratings, a majority of Americans viewed Trump as a dangerous dictator. Fascist, high-profile figures, including former Chief of Staff John F. Kennedy and former Defensive Secretary Mark Esper, have described Trump as a fascist. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have also agreed with this characterization. He's also been criticized as a white supremacist and racist. So multiple Democratic leaders, such as Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Andrew Yang, have labeled Trump a white supremacist. This criticism intensified after his comments during the 2020 debate, where he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. So he's been criticized as being white nationalist. Critics argue that Trump's rhetoric and policies have emboldened white nationalist groups, citing his reluctance to condemn such organizations explicitly. Furthermore, he's been also criticized for incitement of violence. In the wake of the El Paso mass shooting, Democratic candidates linked Trump's rhetoric to their rise in the white nationalist violence, accusing him to inciting such acts. Threat to democracy, which former Justice Department officials and scholars have expressed concerns over Trump's threat to political opponents and his refusal to commit of accepting election results, viewing these actions as dangerous to the rule of law. He's also been compared as being Nazi comparisons, inspired by Goebbels, Beto Peter O'Rourke compared Trump's rhetoric to that of Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, suggesting that Trump employs similar tactics to manipulate public opinion. Dictator fascist. If you're calling Trump a dictator, give me one solid example of a time he dismantled democracy or used dictator level control. If you can't, then maybe the word is being thrown around too lightly. The racist white supremacist. If you believe Trump is a racist or a white supremacist, I invite you to give one clear statement or policy that provides that claim. Don't generalize, be specific. Sexual abuser, rapist, predator, misogynist. There are accusations out there. Some even went to court. But if you believe Trump is a rapist, what is the strongest legal outcome or example that backs that up? Otherwise, are we slapping labels based on headlines? Insider of violence. Did Trump incite violence, or were people already angry and took it too far? If you believe if you believe he did, look, I'm not trying to Trump is perfect, but I am trying to say this. If we're going to accuse someone of serious things, we better come to the series of evidence. Otherwise, the ones doing the accusing might be just the projecting their own anger or failures. So, here's the challenge to my viewers. If you got an example, drop in the chat. If not, let's stop repeating what others say and start thinking for ourselves. So we are going to talk about now immigration. Trump's immigration policies were cruel and inhumane. Others say he was simply enforcing the law and protecting American borders. So, what's the truth? So, let's talk about border security. Critics say Trump's border wall and strict enforcement were racist or anti-immigrant. But I asked you, is wanting to secure a border racist, or is it just responsible leaders? Give me one policy or quote that proves he was anti-immigrant, not anti-illegal immigration. Family separations. One of the most emotional criticisms was separation of families at the border. If you believe this was a Trump created policy, tell me when he started and who signed it. So let's go over this again. One of the most emotional criticisms was the separation of families at the border. If you believe this was a Trump created policy, Tell me when it started and who signed it. Hint, it actually began under Obama in some cases. So let's be honest and accurate. Should the US take in more asylum seekers? What's the limit? If Trump reduces refugee intakes, was that inhumane or necessary given national security concerns? Again, give me an example where his policy violated international law or basic human rights. Look at the southern border today under Biden. Record numbers of crossing, human trafficking, fentanyl, and chaos. So I asked, was Trump's immigration policy cruel or was it just controlled? If you're going to say Trump was wrong on immigration, bring receipts. Let me know some proof. Show me how its policies were unjust. If you can't, maybe we need to rethink the narratives and ask ourselves, are we reacting to headlines or facts? Now we're going to some analogies. Imagine someone knocks on your door in the middle of the night, cold, hungry, and asking for help. You want to help, but you also have a family inside, and you don't know who this person is. Would you let them in right away? Or you ask questions first, make sure it's safe, and then figure out how to help responsibly. That's the same challenge a nation faces. Compassion and security must go hand in hand. Immigration, the house guest analogy. Imagine your home is always unlocked and people start working in. Some for help, some for work, and some you don't know at all. You want to be generous, but now your food's gone, your bills are higher, and your family's safety feels uncertain. Would you say that makes you heartless for liking the door, or responsible? Democracy, the team game analogy. Imagine you're playing on a team and one player refuses to follow the rules, won't accept when they lose, and pressure the ref to call things their way. At some point, is it still a fair game? That's what people mean when they say democracy is under threat. So, tariffs, the grocery store analogy. Say your local store starts charging more for imported apples to support American farmers. At first, it's patriotic, but now apples cost double, and you're the one paying. The question is, are you helping the economy or just paying for more at checkout? LGBTQ plus rights. The school rulebook analogy. Imagine a school where some students are told they can't use the bathroom, can't wear clothes that match who they are, and can't talk about their identity. Would that feel like equal treatment or discrimination? So comment below, and I want to hear your thoughts. A man is driving the car. A pregnant woman is in the passenger seat. She is approximately 7 months pregnant. He is momentarily distracted, looking at his phone, causing a crash. The woman survives, but the fetus dies. The driver is charged with vehicular manslaughter under some state federal. The driver is charged with vehicular manslaughter under the state's federal homicide law. Now, scenario B, elective abortion. A different woman, also 7 months pregnant, decides she does not want to carry the pregnancy to term. She goes to a clinic and gets a late-term abortion. The procedure is legal in her state with doctor's approval. No charges are filed, no crime is committed. Comment below on that topic, on that scenario. Media bias, the broken mirror analogy. Imagine you look at a mirror, but it's cracked and only shows parts of your face it wants you to see. That's how some feel about the media. Not that it's all lies, but that it's selective truth. So the question here is, are we seeing reality or a filtered version of it? The analogy of the search warrant analogy. Search warrant at the border. Imagine this. 2 police officers come to your door and say they have a search warrant to search your house. But they don't show you the warrant. Would you let them in? If no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't allow them in. You'd want to see the document before giving them permission to enter. Now, think about the southern border. When an undocumented immigrant tries to cross, they don't have the necessary legal documentations to prove their right to enter the country. Should they be allowed in without proof, or do they need a search warrant, something what shows they are legally allowed to enter the U.S.? Now, this is a scenario on due process at the border versus airport. Let's break this down. If an immigrant crosses the southern border illegally and gets caught, they may request asylum, but the U.S. law, they are entitled to hearing and due process. That's what the law says. But here's what it gets interesting. If that same immigrant somehow enters the country through the airport without proper documentation and then asks for asylum, they are often sent back immediately to their country of origin. Why? Why is the due process in this situation? Why do they get different treatment based on where they enter? So here's the due process dilemma. So why the difference in treatment? Shouldn't everyone, regardless of how they enter the country, get the same due process protection under the law? Why is one group allowing the right to hearing and the other not? What do you think? Is this a fair statement, due process? Should an immigrant entering through the southern border be treated differently than one who arrives by plane? Should there be a uniform policy for all asylum seekers, regardless of how they enter the country? Let me know your thoughts and comments, and that's all I have for you. And I'll see you next time. Looking forward to read all the comments afterwards, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good day.